quick little video that I like to show of one of our customers. Small little school out of PA named Lafayette University, but they've been with us from the beginning. They started with a little small system, and they've kind of grown since then with another system.
We were very excited to launch the Lafayette Sports Network with a broadcasting partner here in the Lehigh Valley.
We produce a lot of sporting events for many different linear platforms. I see the need for live streaming just going up and up in the college.
You have an audience there, right? They're watching for a reason. They care. I never would have imagined that we would have a live streaming control room that could connect to any location on campus. We've been so satisfied with RIEDEL since we implemented it.
We can have a student come in before the game with no knowledge, watch the first half, learn the system, and then by the second half be ready to go and operate the system properly for the rest of the game. When we miss other sports, you know, it's so unfortunate, not just for our fans who watch, but also for the parents of those kids who are not able to make their games and things like that. So we now have a mini V-Box from Simply Live. So we're now for the first time this year doing 2 broadcasts at once. So adding in a second system really helps us cover all of our sports. I mean, we didn't miss a single one this fall. We've only really streamed our scholarship sports, but now with this mini, we're able to have a setup pretty much anywhere, and depending on the sport, we might be able to, you know, start streaming some other sports I never would have thought would have been possible before coming here to Lafayette.
We are able to broadcast more sports, and we're able to also broadcast concurrent events. I can't believe we have this type of product out there on a national level that looks so darn good.
I think that tells a pretty good story to get us started here. But today our topic is, you know, having less equipment, less staff, but still being able to produce, being able to produce a quality show. So, a little bit about Simply Live. You may not know who we are, but we were Simply Live. We are now RIEDEL. So what we say is it is RIEDEL with Simply Live inside. So Simply Live was a group of people that came from EVS. They created the huge replay market and the hardware component that came with EVS. About 7 years ago, they decided that they saw things going in more of a software base, which kind of leads us to today's topic, being able to implement that on different software and being able to send less staff somewhere, plug in, bounce a signal back to another, you know, data center, the cloud, or even your house, and being able to run a show from there. So, right here is just a quick little excerpt about what we are, a simple way to do more with less. We're software-defined architecture. It can be deployed on COTS hardware, so we can deploy this on your hardware. We saw everything migrating years ago. We knew that we had to have a product that could be deployed in the cloud or in a private data center. And in order to do that, it couldn't be on hardware. So we've had coders working on this for years, making sure that we could adjust with the market, being that this day and age, this market that everybody's in now, you need more content, but you need to do that with less people and a less budget. So how can you do that? Finding ways to get creative. Being creative before you actually start the broadcast is something that, you know, more and more companies, more and more teams, broadcast teams are starting to figure out. So all of this is already, since it's already on-prem and it was created as software, it's already in the cloud. So we can already deploy this in the cloud. You'll see a couple of things that I'm going to talk to you about with the cloud as well. So just going to start here with a couple of our customers who's using Simply Live. I would say that everybody on here is using a form of our software, but in a different way. The reason I like to show this is because a lot of these places, like the Savannah Bananas, Lafayette, they started with something really small. And when I say that, they started with like a $20,000 system that did 6 in, 2 out, or 4 in, 2 out, excuse me. And that's really how they started, because they didn't have a budget and they were trying to figure out, how can we do this? How can I train students to do this? How can I have somebody come in and in 30 minutes be able to run a few replays? And we were able to show them Simply Live, show them the touch screen, show them how intuitive it was, and being able to learn it on the fly. But it also shows the growth. So Savannah Bananas started with a small system. They now have 2 that they network together. There's talks that there's now going to be a league coming out of that. So just a lot of growth in there. Notre Dame uses us, but they use it in a ref review system for lacrosse. So just different ways that you can use our software. IIHF, they use just about everything that we have. So they have ref review, they also have replay, and then they're also doing another different type of medical review as well. So we're in there, and then we also do the coaches benches as well. So they're doing reviews right there on the bench. That's all Simply Live RIEDEL as well. So the basic of this all is that it is a platform architecture. This is our basic, most simplistic form that there is. It's our R6, our 4 in, our 2 out. It's one rack unit, and then our interface. Get the remote, touch screen, you get to choose what size you want to use. We leave that up to you. But the thing that we like to show about this is the platform, but this is really what everything comes from. So whether I am having one user and I'm doing a small show at a school, whether I'm doing a small show at a church, those are a couple of other users that use this as well. To here I'm showing a 12 camera setup. I've got somebody using our production suite that's doing all their switching, and then they also have 2 other people that are running replays. So this could be replay for the ref review. This one could be for medical, just depending on how they were going about and using it. But it shows how we bring graphics in through NDI, and we also let you use whatever audio mixer you want as well. But again, just showing you the platform, you can see the architecture there. It's not going to change. And then when we deploy that in the cloud, doesn't change either. It's going to be the same thing if I was sitting at my house and I plugged in. It's going to look the same way as if I was sitting at the studio running the show. Good example of this is right here with ESPN. So for the last couple years, we've been covering the outer courts for them. So that means prelims before the US Open starts, so 2 weeks before. So ESPN is now getting that extra content. Now you don't have to travel from across the world to watch your kid play. You can just log into ESPN Plus and you can watch them try to qualify for the US Open. It's pretty cool. But ESPN isn't sending thousands of people there to do this. ESPN is sending, every year it's going down in number. This year, I think they're trying to get it down to below 50% of what they sent last year. So they're using our venue gateway on site, plugging the sources in there, and they're bouncing the signal back to Bristol. So what you actually see here is one operator running our all-in-one. So he's doing his own replays, he's cutting in between the cameras, and then right here, sitting in between, there's 2 people. They're doing the audio and the graphics. So this guy's actually sending graphics to the 2 people sitting on each side of him, depending on the game, the score, and what's going on. The only thing on site is our venue gateway and the robotic cameras that are following an algorithm, kind of following the ball and everything else that's going on. There's no commentary, but that's not needed. It's the content that you want to see. You want to see the players, you want to see them scoring, and you want to see all of the angles. So now ESPN is able to cover that. This was kind of a pipe dream before. There was like a quarter 2 that we kind of covered every once in a while in those. But now, 2 weeks before it's even started, you're sitting there watching this. And we actually have certain directors that are fighting to do this because it's so much different than what they're doing in the normal day, sitting in with their headset telling cut to camera 1, cut to camera 2. They're running their own show the way they want by their fingertip. And they all really like the power of that, but they also like the simplicity of it. They can do this at home. That's the best part. Somebody can't come in that day, we can set them up at home. We send a little nook to their house, plug in there, and they're running the same exact interface. And how we get that done is with our venue gateway. This helps with those distributed workflows. So this is basically, in simplistic form, encoder, decoder. Right here we're showing the 8 channel. We're in the process of creating a 12 channel. But this would live on site. Sources plug into that. And then with this, we can send that signal to private data center. We can send it to the cloud. Really not limited with what we can do. But this is the powerful tool that helps drive those workflows. I think a really good example of this is the Beijing Olympics. So Alpine needed a way to get the signal from those mountains that were, on the opposite side of Beijing, and they were so far up there. But they wanted to get those signals back to Stanford. And they were having a lot of different issues with different types of latency, and also just the hardware itself being able to withstand some of that cold. But we were able to put some systems there, and we had, so many different sources bouncing all the way back, but then we had different setups. So in one spot, we had somebody who's just using our web multi-viewer, sending over cool plays to the stream or to the actual news desk. You had other people that were just browsing through different shots, but then you had other people that were actually doing the actual replays, slowing things down, doing some super slow-mo, adding in the replays that you were seeing online. There was latency, obviously, because it was halfway across the world. But what we did notice is that as time progressed, the latency got better and better. So whether that be the software, the way that things were just kind of picking up, we've noticed that that's happened with a few of the tests that we've done and a few of the shows that we've actually produced. So Venue Gateway is on site, bouncing back those signals. We have the V-Box where it's also connecting those two signals. The V-Box is what runs the all-in-one. And in doing that, you could stay at Stanford. So this year for the Olympics, the goal for Paris was to send, it was 75% less than they sent last time. So you're seeing the theme here. More and more places are having to save money. When you think about it, you're sending how many people to Paris? That's flights, boarding. Now we have to eat. Then we're going to be there for, I think it's like 6 weeks for some of them. It adds up, and especially when you're talking about hundreds of people. So being able to get these numbers down, being able to send less people there, have them plug in, being able to troubleshoot if there is an issue, and it not taking hundreds and hundreds of people to still produce the same quality show. And that leads us to something that we did a couple of years ago. I know cloud's the big buzzword, everything that a lot of people are using right now. 2 years ago, we did the first linear TV show. That was all directed in the cloud. So this is ESPN. They have been an adopter of us from the very beginning. They really understood why we were building things the way we were, the architecture behind that platform that I showed you, and the reason that we were leaning towards distributed workflows. They really understood that and grasped it. So they built a Simply Live control room. They're in the process of building another one. So right here, what we're showing is it was a George Mason basketball game, and we ran it on ESPN, and we didn't know how it was going to go. We had done another test a week before, and we had audio issues. I couldn't hear them, but every engineer in there could, and it was driving them crazy. It drove me crazy because I couldn't hear it, but they all noticed it. They spent hours, a couple weeks, and we ran this, and it ran flawlessly. There was no audio issue, but all we did was we sent, I think there was 25 people that they sent to George Mason to grab the feeds, to plug in. We used the Venue Gateway, and we bounced those signals back to Bristol. So here at Bristol, we have Marissa, who is running our replay. So she's got her remote over here, her screen. She can do touch screen, remote, however she wants. She's actually really good with the remote. She works for Ross and Evert's part-time as well. So she's really, really good with the remote. And then she is sitting next to another one of the directors who's also kind of helping with some of the graphics and some of the audio, but they're using our web multi-viewer there in the middle. So they're able to see all the feeds, making sure that everything's up, making sure that it's all running smoothly and together. And then the director's sitting over here to the side. Audio is in the back room. And, we put that up there. It ran really well. And then we did a couple of softball games as well. We didn't do all the publicity that some of our competitors have with this. ESPN's kind of tight on some of that. But I will say that with this now, it's given us the ability to help them do super slow-mo in the cloud this year for Major League Baseball games. And then they're also looking at Little League World Series, being able to send less people there to get that done and have that production done. So being able to bounce that signal up to the cloud and then back to Bristol is pretty big for them. So they're in the process of it, saving staff. How fewer people can we send there and still have the show run smoothly? So there's a lot of that going back and forth. But I mean, they're still using it. It's been running well. We've got other customers doing it too. Leads us to the very end, my final ending, which kind of encompasses everything that RIEDEL has to offer. So this is Sail GP. This is the F1 of water. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but these boats fly on the water. It's really cool, the strategy, the way that they have to set this up. But in order to do all that, they have to communicate. So for years, the last few years that they were doing this and the tour kind of took off, the coaches would follow the sailboat in a speedboat, which is kind of weird, right? Like sailboat and the coach is in a speedboat with his team, and they would follow the sailboat and tell the sailboat, all right, Germany's coming up on the right or USA's on the left, and they would kind of tell you how you needed to go about, your next maneuver. Well, now there's the green initiative, there's the why are our coaches in the water, we have all this technology. Well, again, RIEDEL and Simply Live. RIEDEL has all of the headsets, all of the communication, just like F1. We have all of that, all of the communication that goes on there as well. So, Sail GP adopted us right away. Well, we took a platform that we had with Simply Live, and we deployed our ref box feature. So now, these are the coaches. They are no longer in their boats. They are on dry land. They can have as big of a team as they want sitting there with them. And the best part about it is now, instead of just what they see in front of them, now they can have every camera feed that's out there. The helicopter that's flying around, I can have that feed. My other team sitting next to me, I can have every feed they have. So we all have the same feeds. I think it's upwards somewhere of 50, 60 cameras in different feeds. And being able to go in and adjust what you see when you see it. But these coaches are sitting on dry land, cutting, looking at the cameras, and while they're doing that, they're telling their team what to do next. Hey, Germany's coming up on the left, make sure you take this turn a little bit wider. Those types of things where before you were limited in that boat with how they were hearing you, how loud your boat was. Now they're saving hundreds, if not millions of dollars, because now they don't have to take each boat to each spot where the tour is, which is, there's like 2 in the US, the rest are all around the world. Pretty expensive to ship those boats, to ship those teams. Now the coaches sit on dry land. You can kind of see we've kind of set up like a little pit road type thing where everybody can kind of come in and see what the coaches are seeing, see what the coaches are doing, hear them communicate with their team as well. It's been pretty powerful. Before they were on a boat. Let's just be simple. They were riding around in a speedboat. Now they're sitting on dry land, and now there's actually talks that some of them want to test doing it at home. So being able to sit at home, run their team, no matter where they are in the world, and stay dry, it's pretty impressive. But I think that just kind of goes to the heart of what RIEDEL has to offer. There's a lot in the comms world. When people think RIEDEL, they think comms and communications. And 2 years ago when Thomas bought Simply Live, he wanted that to change. And I think with what we have in the roadmap and what we've done to set us up for the future, I think we're in a really good place. Questions or anything for me? I know we've all had a long day. I appreciate everybody coming for this one. Sticking it out till 3.
What's the location?
This location, I believe this was the one that they did in Florida. But for this one, I think they're in New York in a couple of weeks, and then they'll go back to Abu Dhabi. So they bounce all over, but the cool part is just being able to sit on dry land and have, now they can see the wind. So being able, like if you can see kind of this chart here, they couldn't see any of that before. You know, they were in a boat and they may have a guy that had a screen that could kind of see that. Now, I mean, they've got 3 screens here in front of them. Some of them do 4 with the laptop, but they can change what they're looking at. So I can see the wind, I can see the temperature, the direction. I can see what everybody else is doing, which before they were on a boat kind of looking at what was happening here, not everywhere else. I mean, I think even being able to tap into the helicopter cam is pretty huge too, just because you can see the whole, and you can see everything.
Pathway from the chopping video to get to your system?
The pathway for that, I am not 100% on that. I don't want to give you the wrong answer. But they're using Venue Gateway, VBox, and then our RefBox licensing to produce all of that. So,
I know like with Live View, they've got the bonded cellular coverage.
yep,
And so it comes through whatever internet they can latch on.
Correct.
It comes to your server, which does the decoding.
more than likely it is something very similar. I know that we use, for like the Savannah Bananas, we use LiveView. So Savannah, they like to send everything back to Savannah, to Grayson Stadium. So no matter where they are in the United States traveling, they will do that. So they just send fewer staff there, but they do the LiveView packs and they bounce that signal back. The good thing about us is we work well with everybody. You know, I know there's some things out there where you have to have this encoder to make sure that this switcher works. With us, I mean, compare us with the Ross switcher any day, no problem. Grass Valley, no problem. And I think that makes it kind of powerful too, being able to blend and mesh with pretty much everybody is pretty powerful.
Did you have more than the quad to view the different locations or how?
Yep. Yeah, I can change different views. Since it's software based, I can go in and even change some of the parameters on how I want to see. I can change what I want to see, what I can't see. I can set up different camera angles for, so down this whole side, I can have it to where it's every camera. So I can go through pages of cameras and then I can set the next screen up to show me just those 4, so to speak. Absolutely. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the day. Maybe we'll see you for golf tomorrow.
Digital video